Welcome to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds crazy, almost like something out of a movie, but hidden among the billions of ordinary pennies lies one specific coin that has stunned collectors and sparked intense debates across the numismatic world, the 1951 Wheat Penny. At first glance, it looks completely normal, just another old copper coin worn down by time, but what if I told you that under the right conditions, one of these could reach an eye-watering value of up to $50 million? Yes, you heard that right, a single penny potentially worth more than luxury mansions, rare supercars, and even some private islands combined, and the truly wild part is that most people would spend it without a second thought, never realizing the fortune slipping through their fingers. So stay locked in, because later we're going to hint at another penny that makes even this one look ordinary, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Now let's break this down, because not every 1951 Wheat penny is going to make you rich overnight, and this is where things get interesting. The story starts in Denver, where the United States Mint produced millions of these coins during a time when America was booming after World War II, industry was growing, and pennies were being churned out in massive quantities for everyday use. But in the middle of all that mass production, mistakes began to happen, and those mistakes are exactly what collectors hunt for today, like treasure hunters chasing lost gold. One of the most talked about features of the 1951 Wheat penny is the possibility of rare minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, and even transitional metal anomalies where the composition of the coin may not match what was officially intended. Imagine a coin slipping through quality control with a subtle doubling in the lettering or date, something so small that the average person would never notice, yet to a trained eye it screams rarity and value. And this is where things escalate fast, because collectors don't just buy coins, they compete for them, sometimes aggressively, pushing prices higher and higher in auctions where only the rarest examples ever show up. Now here's the twist that keeps people glued to this story. While millions of 1951 pennies exist, only a tiny fraction fall into the category that collectors would consider elite. We're talking about coins in near perfect condition, graded at the highest levels with sharp details, original mint luster, and absolutely minimal wear, and when you combine that condition with a rare error, you suddenly have something that's not just a coin anymore, it's a one-of-a-kind artifact, the kind of piece that serious collectors, investors, and even museums would fight over behind closed doors, and that's exactly how values can skyrocket into unbelievable territory, not because every coin is worth millions, but because the rarest versions create a ripple effect of hype, speculation, and demand that drives the narrative forward. There have been stories circulating in the coin community about unexpected finds, people going through old jars, inherited collections, or even loose change from decades ago and stumbling across coins that turn out to be far more valuable than they ever imagined. And while not every story ends with millions, it fuels the dream that maybe, just maybe, the next discovery could be life-changing, and that's why coins like the 1951 Wheat penny continue to capture attention, because they sit right at the intersection of history, rarity, and possibility. And let's be real for a second, the idea that something so small and overlooked could hold massive value taps into something deep. It's that classic underdog story, the forgotten object that turns out to be extraordinary. But here's where you need to stay sharp, because not all claims you hear online are grounded in reality. The coin market is full of exaggerations, myths, and hype-driven headlines, so understanding what actually makes a coin valuable is key. Factors like mint condition, verified errors, grading certification, and documented auction history all play a role. Without those, even a genuine 1951 penny might only be worth a modest amount, but with them, the value can climb dramatically, and that's the fine line between pocket change and a collector's dream. Now imagine this scenario: you're going through an old box of coins passed down from a relative, maybe something that's been sitting untouched for years, and among them you spot a 1951 wheat penny. Do you toss it aside, or do you take a closer look? Because that moment right there could be the difference between missing out and making a discovery that changes everything. And this is exactly why collectors always say never ignore old coins, because history has a funny way of hiding in plain sight. And just when you think this story couldn't get any more intense, remember this is only the beginning, because there's another coin coming up that takes rarity and value to a whole new level, a coin that pushes the boundaries of what most people believe is even possible in the world of pennies. So keep watching closely, because if you thought this 1951 wheat penny was impressive, what's coming next might completely change the way you look at every coin you own. Next, 1957 wheat penny. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, not just for thousands or even hundreds of thousands, but for a value so extreme it sounds unreal. And yet the 1957 wheat penny has become one of those whispered legends in the coin world where ordinary meets extraordinary in the most shocking way possible. Because while millions of these pennies were minted in Denver during a time when America was confidently stepping into a new economic era, a handful of them carry secrets so rare that collectors have chased them for decades. And here's the part that flips everything upside down: under the right combination of rarity, condition, and minting anomaly, this coin has been talked about in connection with values reaching up to $60 million, a number so massive it doesn't just turn heads, it stops conversations entirely. And if you're thinking that sounds impossible for a simple copper penny, you're not alone. Because that disbelief is exactly what makes stories like this so powerful. So before you brush it off, stick with me, because what you're about to learn might make you look at every single penny in your possession a little differently. Now let's get into the real story behind the 1957 wheat penny, because like most valuable coins, the magic isn't in the millions that were made, it's in the tiny fraction that came out imperfect in the most fascinating ways. The Denver Mint was producing coins at high speed, and during that process, small mechanical inconsistencies, die wear, and alignment issues could create subtle but incredibly important variations. One of the most famous features tied to this year is the double die effect, where parts of the lettering or design appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process, and while some doubling is minor, the stronger, more visible versions are what send collectors into a frenzy, because they represent a moment in time when the minting process slipped just enough to create something unique. But doubling is just the beginning. There are also off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned with the coin's edge, clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is literally missing, and even rare cases where the metal composition doesn't match the standard bronze mixture used at the time. Imagine holding a coin that shouldn't exist in that form, a mistake that somehow escaped inspection and entered circulation. That's the kind of thing collectors dream about, and when one of these surfaces in high-grade condition, it becomes the centerpiece of auctions, private collections, and heated bidding wars where the price can climb far beyond what logic alone would suggest. And here's where things get even more intense. Condition plays a massive role. A worn-out 1957 penny that's been through decades of circulation might not attract much attention, but a coin preserved in near-perfect mint state with blazing luster and sharp details is a completely different story. Now add a rare error on top of that, and you're no longer dealing with an ordinary collectible. You're dealing with something that sits at the very top of the rarity pyramid, the kind of coin that serious collectors would go to extreme lengths to acquire, and that's how the narrative of multi-million-dollar valuation starts to take shape, not because every coin is worth that much, but because the rarest examples redefine the limits of what's possible. Stories from collectors only add fuel to the fire. There have been accounts of people discovering valuable coins in the most unexpected places: old piggy banks, forgotten drawers, estate sales, even pocket change received during everyday transactions. And while not every discovery leads to life-changing wealth, the possibility keeps the hunt alive. It's that idea that somewhere out there, hidden among millions of ordinary coins, is one extraordinary piece waiting to be found. And the 1957 D. Wheat penny perfectly embodies that possibility. It's common enough to be overlooked, yet rare enough in its best forms to be legendary. Now let's talk about why collectors are so obsessed with coins like this. It's not just about money, it's about history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of the hunt. Each coin tells a story, not just of the year it was minted, but of the journey it took afterward, the hands it passed through, the places it traveled, and the tiny imperfections that make it one of a kind. And in a world where most things are mass-produced and identical, that uniqueness becomes incredibly valuable, both emotionally and financially. But don't get it twisted, the coin market is full of hype, and separating fact from fiction is crucial. Not every 1957 D wheat penny is going to make you rich, and claims of extreme value should always be approached with a critical eye. Verified grading, authenticated errors, and documented sales are what truly determine a coin's worth. Without those, it's just another penny, but with them, it can become something extraordinary, and that's why knowledge is your biggest advantage in this space. So here's the real question: how many times have you handled a penny without even looking at it? How many coins have slipped through your fingers that you never gave a second thought? Because the truth is, most people ignore these small details, and that's exactly why rare coins continue to slip through unnoticed, waiting for someone who knows what to look for, someone patient enough to check, and lucky enough to find something special. And now, as unbelievable as this coin already sounds, remember this journey started with one incredible penny and escalated to another that pushes the limits even further, and by now you're probably wondering if it can get any crazier than this. But that's the thing about the world of rare coins: there's always another story, another mystery, another hidden treasure just waiting to be uncovered, and once you see it, you can never look at pocket change the same way again.